Okay, so we thought it would be very interesting with the rise in popularity of sites like Facebook, sites like MySpace, other social networking sites. Talk about, from a personal perspective, from a professional perspective, what is and what isn't appropriate to have on these sites. And from a professional's perspective, how do you how do you censor what you put on your personal profiles or on your social profiles that are out there to the world?
Interesting conversation. I missed the Facebook generation of college by just a little bit, and have really only grown up with it in the professional world. I've always been a big fan of if if you wouldn't want a judge to see it, don't put it online. It's like the standard rule of I think my mom always used to tell me if you wouldn't want your grandmother to see you doing this, then you probably shouldn't do it. I don't know. I think that rule, by and large, still applies. I don't know that that's really changed that much. A lot of people say, there's privacy standards, and or put your, password protected. So, or put your security standards where nobody, unless you approve them individually, can see anything on your page other than like name and DOB. I don't know. Working in the tech world, I don't trust people to not be able to get around that.
Right.
So,
the question is, do you use those sites for networking with friends, or do you do them for like corporate professional networking? If you do it with friends, I mean, my MySpace account, one of the main reasons I don't do anymore, it's all a bunch of old buddies that sometimes will post stupid shit on my wall. Yeah. And then I don't want a candidate or potential client going to my page and seeing somebody posting some stupid thing on my page and then having that affect my outlook.
And therein runs the exact problem of the worlds are blended. There is, especially at our point in our life, we're young professionals, relatively recently out of college. There is a very, very thin line between our personal lives and our professional lives. We all hang out together outside of work. There really is a very thin line between personal and professional, and I always err on the side of caution.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fair thing. I think at the same time, your online profile is a reflection of your entire self, professionally
Right.
and personally. You're right; the lines are fully blurring. But at some point, someone does need to draw a line with what they put out there and what they don't put out there. Like if they put something out there, they're taking a firm stand that is
me.
That is me. And I know other employers do it. I mean, I've heard of companies when they interview candidates for jobs, will go do some MySpace or Facebook search.
I mean, let me ask you, as an employer, I mean, is that ethical to like go and and judge an interviewee by their Facebook or their MySpace?
I don't know what the laws are about that.
I mean, I don't know. You hire people. You're an employer. I mean, what like? Do you have any qualms about like going and checking potential interviewees? Like,
you know what? Somebody said we had a debate here. We had a debate here when we would check out MySpace, Facebook profiles, right? And someone said, how would you feel about someone looking through your window? It's your private life. But then at the same time, they're putting it out there. It's out there. It's like running a Google search. Is it unethical to run a Google search on somebody and find some dirt on somebody? I think a lot of people do it on, like if someone's going out on a blind date with someone, they'll run a Google search on someone. They'll check them out on Facebook and MySpace.
it's kind of like a reference check.
It's a little bit of a reference check.
Yeah.
I don't know what the legalities are about doing it or not doing it or making decisions based on it. I mean, it's extra information. You want as much information as you possibly can have.
Sure, I agree.
I don't buy the whole looking through your window argument. I think that, like you said, they put it out there. Now, if they like password protected it, or they said that you can only see this if you're in certain network and like you deliberately go around that network. All right, now you're like really pushing some serious boundaries. But if their standards are, if you live in Los Angeles and you're in the Los Angeles Facebook network, you can see my profile. That's their problem.
Yeah.
What
about a company that wants to maintain a certain face to the outside world, and they have employees that work for the company that are mooning the camera or cursing obsessively on their Facebook accounts, or acting inappropriate, not in the way that the company would like them to be acting? They have a right to fire someone based on that.
That's a good question.
There's a case here. Virgin Atlantic recently fired 13 employees for participating on the networking site Facebook, which brought the company into disrepute and insulted some of our passengers. So let's say like a stewardess from Virgin Atlantic, whatever, was acting inappropriately and offended a passenger, they fired the steward.
I mean, I think that I would have to say that I feel like it's within the company's rights to first ask that they make it at least private or take down the content, and then secondly, if they don't, to fire them. It seems as much as the lines of personal and professional are blurred, I still lean towards, your Facebook. Like, you still need some life outside of work. You need something away from that, and then you at least ought to be given the opportunity to, given the opportunity to make it more personal and more private before it directly impacts you in your job.
I just know one of the features, I'm not sure if MySpace has, but Facebook, you can set your profile where absolutely nobody, unless you accept them as a friend, can view any of your things. So, I mean, I think that should be the first option. Don't make your information public.
Okay, and then
I would say I think it's pretty drastic to fire them without any kind of a
warning
or make it private, like a sit down. Really bad idea, dude. Don't do it again. Make it private. Next time we won't ask. We'll just ask you to leave.
Yeah, the thought, like, we spent a lot of time looking for people on LinkedIn, and right now, if the thought is if you're not on LinkedIn, you almost might as well not exist, right?
Right.
So, who is this guy? He's not even on LinkedIn, right? So on Facebook, if you're not on Facebook, if you're like looking for a job, and it's become common practice to look up candidates you're considering on MySpace or Facebook, and you're not on Facebook or MySpace, or you have a very private profile, could that be used against you? Because now there's nothing out there to judge.
No.
Could it? Sure. I mean, anything could be used against you. I mean,
you can't use new technology against you that you're not using that technology. I mean, that's ridiculous. The technology's only been out there a couple of years.
Yeah, but wouldn't that almost, if let's say you interview 10 candidates for a job, and all 10 candidates, you look at their Facebook and MySpace page, and you use that, whether it's right or wrong, you use that as information to make a decision, and that 11th candidate doesn't have a page, wouldn't it almost feel like you're hiring them without interviewing them?
You feel like you definitely have fewer data points. I mean,
so can it be a negative then?
Sure, it could. I mean, anything can be a positive, anything can be a negative. Like, you could have something entirely inappropriate on your Facebook page that 9 out of 10 employers would not hire you for, but it might resonate. But it might resonate with your hiring manager. Like, maybe he really likes people who move the camera. I mean, shit, you don't know about this kind of stuff. Like, he could resonate with it for any reason. And
point is, be yourself.
Point is, be yourself. Be careful about what you put out there. Don't be insulting. Don't do any. Again, you probably don't want to put anything on there you wouldn't want a judge seeing. But aside from that, like, I'm a country boy from Missouri. Some of my values and some of my activities probably contradict some of what maybe the Silicon Valley thinks is acceptable practice. But you know what? I am who I am. My Facebook page is up there, and like, I just, it's not illegal. There's nothing on there. It's just who I am. I'm cool with that. I think it's really how you have to approach it.
Yeah, interesting thought. And we'll talk in a few seconds about the top 10 tips on how to avoid a professional embarrassment on Facebook. We'll also publish this on our blog, but. How far do you go with a personal and professional stance on sites like MySpace and Facebook? And one specific example that I have right now, I'll throw it out there, we'll talk about it, is there's a lot of politics being discussed. Let's even make it kind of relatively safe. Let's even make it relatively safe and do like the Obama versus McCain, right?
Right.
How firmly do you position yourself as an Obama supporter or a McCain supporter?
I've 100% not taken the stance of like choosing any sides. I mean, I may still have some old stuff there where it's like Eli's a supporter of Mitt Romney or something like that. But I mean, I've seen a lot of clients, a lot of candidates post a bunch of stuff about like people with opposing political views.
There's some really bad stuff out right now.
There's
some really bad stuff out right now.
Yeah, especially right now with like different conflicts going on between cultural groups. I know that's kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah, but that's what I'm talking about, but I don't want to throw it out there.
I know. But yeah, I mean, I have a really weird opinion on that. I mean, as recruiters, we should keep it neutral. We shouldn't judge based upon that because that's not our role.
Nor should we allow for ourselves to be judged based on that.
Exactly. It's inevitable that you are going to be judged by that.
What are you always taught in etiquette class? 3 things you don't discuss at the dinner table: politics, religion, and sex, right? And it's probably the same basic rules, other than to say, this is my religious affiliation, this is my political affiliation. Anything past that, you're really walking the line of putting yourself in a position to be, in a position to harm yourself professionally, because there are going to be people who take a strong enough opposing view against that. Probably better just to stay away from firmly cementing yourself in a stance before you have an opportunity to be judged. I'd say keep it neutral. Don't be afraid of who you are. I'm a Presbyterian that tends to support conservative causes. Like, that's on my Facebook page. Aside from that, I'm not going to go diving into exactly where I fit into that. So, and I think that's probably the best. That's probably the best place to be walking that line.
But interesting thought though, because new types of scenarios develop, new types of thoughts, positions, ideas about things, and you have to. I think at the end of the day, you hit it in the beginning. You got to rely on your judgment, right? If your grandma wouldn't be proud of seeing you doing it, then maybe you
Maybe
shouldn't
not
do
put it on
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.